If I thought I was going to be here a year ago, I would have done that fifth year. I'd have done the fifth-year option. Um, but again, I knew from doing work on Daniel coming out in the draft the type of person he was, from everybody in the building the type of person he was, his work ethic. He has all the physical tools. He's athletic. He can make all the throws. Just the situation he was in, I do think you have to look into that, like year 2 and 3, what he went through, the talent that was around him, the injuries. There was a lot that went into it. But being around Daniel for the last 13 months, and seeing him play in the fourth quarter comebacks and winning a playoff game on the road. And there's a lot of positives that, a 25-year-old young man just displayed throughout the season. And, the upside, I got a lot of belief in our staff and Daniel's work ethic and their relationship that, will continue to grow and Daniel can get to the better. If he's just at his floor right now, I'm really excited about what his ceiling's going to be.
And look, it's a win-win because Daniel Jones needs to be working with head coach Brian Daboll because Daboll got a lot out of Jones, just like he got a lot out of Josh Allen. And even though Allen is a cut or two above Jones, similar skill sets, right? Good mobility, big guy, big arm. They just need to get some receivers around him now. By the way, Joe Schoen, welcome to the Vest Club as well. I didn't notice that on the way in when we played the clip, saw it that time. But they did what they had to do, and they made the wager last year that I guess they would rather, and I think this is how Joe explained it when we had him at the scouting combine a year ago or after the draft, whenever. I think after the draft is when we had this conversation. It's better to be wrong this way than to be wrong the other way. If Jones had stunk, and they'd be on the hook for a fully guaranteed $24-25 million for this season, that's not good for them. So, yeah, well, we had to sign him to a long-term contract. Good problem to have, sort of, because they believe he can play, and they believe they can win a Super Bowl with him, as Joe said.
Yes. Well, I think part of it, too, is that you understand that, the quarterback is going to command a certain amount of money on the open market, right? And so if you did this last year where you picked up the fifth-year option and then, you're saying that, okay, he does stink, well, then you're in the situation like the Browns were in last year with Baker Mayfield, and they've got to try to get rid of this guy, and they know that they need to upgrade a quarterback. But it's harder to do that because, you end up having to eat a certain amount of salary so that you can get him to just go away. The Giants didn't necessarily want to be in that position. I totally understand that. And really, when you haven't been around Daniel Jones in the building, you haven't seen how he responds to the coaching from not just Brian Daboll, but also offensive coordinator Mike Kafka, who I don't know is getting enough credit in a lot of these discussions about it, because it's not like Brian Daboll is calling the offensive plays, right? That is Mike Kafka's job. And so I think that what Kafka's been able to do is maximize the skill set that Daniel Jones has so that it's not just, he's going out there and he's winging it or whatever. Talking about a guy who had a league low 1.1% interception rate. That means something. And when you're not turning the ball over, it means that you are giving your offense a chance to score. Now, only had 15 touchdowns last year too, so that number's got to go up. But I think part of what the argument here is, you bring back Daniel Jones, and he's not just on that $32 million cap hit that he would have had if he were on the franchise tender. You're able to then lower that thing with the contract, and then you're able to add more weapons around him. And then you would expect a little more offensive production. So all of these things go into it as to why the Giants are all right, even though they have given Daniel Jones ostensibly a lot of money for what doesn't necessarily seem like the production to match it.
Well, and the key is they now have some breathing room to add some weapons. He did well when you consider he did not have a great core of receivers. Yes, he had Saquon Barkley and will have him at least for one more year, but he didn't have big-name receivers. The guys they signed, like Kenny Golladay, just it didn't pan out. And look, Daniel Jones got the last coach and GM fired. I mean, not him specifically, but he was part of the problem that got people fired. So I can understand why on the way through the door, you just want to be sure. And you make the calculation let's be sure that he's our guy before we make a financial commitment beyond 2022, which is what they did. Now, as to the contract itself, and we're going to see this time and time again. This is the rhythm. This is how it works. When the original contract is done, the agents will leak. The team never does it. The agents leak to the insiders on speed dial the best possible characterization of the contract, the absolute best possible characterization. It's always going to be the absolute best possible characterization, even there if there's some embellishment or if there is some fabrication. It happens. It's just part of the game. And then the real numbers come out, and we get a better idea of what it is. So 4 years, 160, not really. Not really. That gets it to an average of $40 million per year. And that was like the big pressure point. Wanted 45. Well, wanted 45 to get to 40. Get to 40. Got to get to 40.
Yeah.
So got to 40 technically, but the way to get to 40 is with a fourth-year non-guaranteed salary of $47.5 million. You take that out, the average is 37.5. And that's how people are looking at this. It's a 3-year, $37.5 million contract, and the Giants hold an option for the fourth year at $47.5. He's going to have to be really good the first 3 to get them to say, hell yes, we'll pick up that option. And frankly, going into that year, they'd probably give him a new contract in lieu of paying $47.5, and he'd have more security and more money down the road because the market's going to keep going up and up and up and up. So, with that said, 3 years, $37.5 million, 2 years, $82 million. I've seen some confusion, and we were part of that, as to whether or not there's another $12 million that is guaranteed as a practical matter because it vests next year. It's money for year 3 that vests in year 2. That's not what it is. It's 2 years, $82 million, and the Giants can walk away after that. Guarantees vest the next year. So, look, it's $41 million for 2 years, which is about $10 million more than what he would have gotten under the franchise tag for 2 years. So he gets a little extra. It's a 2-year commitment minimum by the Giants. And then after 2024, they have an opportunity to pull the plug if it just ends up being a disaster. They have protection against Daniel Jones not being the guy that he was last year. And so that's how it works. And people are like, boy, these are really short-term deals. Well, unless you have Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence, for everybody else, you want to have flexibility in the event that the guy you currently have goes this way instead of that way.
Yes, exactly. And so that's why it's a lot of these deals oftentimes are 2 years and we'll see, and I think that makes total sense from a roster construction standpoint. You don't necessarily think that Daniel Jones is going to be a total bust this coming year in 2023 because of what he showed you in 2022. Again, Joe Shea mentioned it. He won a playoff game. Now, we can talk about how bad the Vikings defense was, and they were bad, but they still went on the road and won a playoff game. And so I think that means something. And so if you're talking about it and if you just kind of like look into your crystal ball in the future, what is going to be the case? Well, you're going to give Daniel Jones all of the 2023 season to see what he can do and see if he can continue to stack those blocks and build on what he did in 22. But if things go belly up in 2022, then it would be like, all right, we're going to maybe bring in some competition in 2023, see how well Daniel Jones does, 2024, see how well Daniel Jones does then. And then if it doesn't work, then that's when you pull the plug. All of this makes logical sense for the New York Giants when it comes to how are you going to construct your team and possibly keep that Super Bowl window open as long as possible. And if you're Daniel Jones, if you get $10 million more than you would have made on the 2 franchise tags, that gives you enough incentive to say, yes, sign me up for that. That makes sense. Let's go and let's try to win.
And I wonder how much of that extra $10 million was aimed at just getting the deal done so they could tag Saquon Barkley. I know Saquon Barkley was very happy for Daniel Jones, but as a practical matter, by doing the deal when he did it, Jones allowed Barkley to be tagged. If Jones had simply said, sorry, I'm going to wait until July 15 to do this deal, then Barkley becomes a free agent because Jones gets tagged. So it's good for Jones to do this because keeping Barkley around helps him continue to play like he did last year, it's always better to have the established guy at running back, and he may be around, I don't know, who knows, another year or two or beyond this. We'll find out. We'll play some of that sound coming up, but that was part of the incentive. Accept the deal so you can keep Saquon, even though it doesn't really help Saquon because he doesn't get his shot at the open market. And at running back, you want to get to the open market as soon as you. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.